And with that, I think it's just about time. Let's get going and talk about some purchase orders. So this is what we're here for. Purchase Orders 101, Procurement Simplified. So this webinar, as usual, will be hosted by myself. I'm Mary. I'm a Customer Success Manager here at MaintainX. So to those of you I already work with, hello. It's nice to see you. Happy to have you here. And for those I may work with in the future, looking forward to doing so. And I'm joined here by my colleague, Nick Sankar, who is our Customer Support Manager. So I'll hand the mic over to you, Nick. Why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself?
Absolutely. Thank you very, very, very much, Mary. As I mentioned prior, this is a fantastic opportunity for us to really talk about purchase orders today. One of the feel underused features from the support side. We are always happy to hear and answer any questions. I have my support warriors who are jumping in and ensuring that we can address all your questions. And again, this is not limited in any way, shape, or form to only here. You have any questions? We are 24/5 Monday to Friday right now, and we are looking forward to all your questions and helping in any way, shape, or form. Thanks again so much.
Brilliant. Let's get it. So this is the agenda for today. This is what we will be covering. Firstly, a little bit of an introduction, and then we'll talk about why we should be using the purchase orders module. As Nick just mentioned, it's something that's a little bit underutilized, I think, by people within MaintainX. It's a very powerful module and something that people can be a little intimidated by. So we are going to chat about some procurement challenges that people are facing and some process improvements and how that relates to the module within MaintainX. I'll then be giving a live purchase order demonstration. So we'll illustrate everything for you there. And we'll talk about how to begin using purchase orders. I've got a recommended flow that you can follow to take you from now, where you're maybe not using a system, to being fully rock and rolling with it. And as I mentioned, we'll then stick around for our live Q&A. So to start us out, just a little bit about MaintainX. So our mission is to transform the way frontline professionals manage the equipment and facilities that power our world. And we are building for the long term. So we push innovation in mobile workflows with real-time analytics and open APIs. And we partner with our customers. So we have a world-class team here that develops and supports our project? What am I on about? Product. With industry expertise in manufacturing, facilities, and more. And as per usual, I do want to emphasize you're well supported here at MaintainX. As an existing customer, you've got your 3 prongs of support. You have your wonderful account manager, who is your main point of contact. You have myself and my team, customer success, for helping you with long-term strategies. And then you have Nick and his incredible team of support warriors there. And they're on hand to answer any of your technical questions 24 hours a day, 5 days a week. Keeping it going, leading companies trust MaintainX with their operations. So as you can see here, maybe some familiar names, but I do want to emphasize as well, MaintainX and specifically the features that we're going to be talking about today, they can be used by our biggest customers right through to our smallest. So never feel like anything is out of your reach. Everything is available to you within the system. So let's kick it off with a poll. You know I love a good poll. How do you currently manage your procurement flows? So you should see the question pop up on your screen there. We have a few answers here. We use the MaintainX purchase orders module. We have a separate system to track work orders and no system. We order what we need as we notice it. So if you're using portals, emails, all that kind of good stuff, that'd be the third option there. Ooh, getting a lot of responses in there. I'll wait till we're got pretty much everyone answered and then we'll reveal the scores. It's always my favorite bit, Nick. Your favorite bit? Yeah, thought so.
Loving it.
It's a good one. I always like to set in my mind what I think the answers are going to be, and sometimes you guys surprise me. So we'll see what happens today. Claudine, why don't we share those results now? Brilliant. So as we can see here, we have a tie between we have a separate system to track our work orders and no system. So 40% on each of those, and then 20% of you already using the MaintainX purchase orders module. So I'm actually glad to hear that. For those who aren't using it, we'll go through what it looks like and how you can start, why it may be beneficial. And for those who are already using it, maybe we'll be able to learn some new features. Maybe we'll be able to deepen your usage of the module as well. So thank you guys for your participation on that one. Let's kick it off with the why. Why should we be using the purchase orders module? Good question. So Throughout my conversations with clients, I've noticed that we have three main purchasing issues that come up very frequently. The first one would be that procurement can be really decentralized and disorganized. So between different portals, you may have to order through, between different emails with different reps, between different websites, between different phone calls, really thousands of emails and messages. It's hard to know what's been ordered and when, especially with long lead times, as we're currently experiencing. It's really hard to know everything that's going on. If we have 50 orders going on at the same time, how do we keep track of those? When they're so disparate, how do we know exactly what we should be expecting and when? We then see a lack of visibility into spending and inventory. So orders are becoming difficult to track, longer lead times, partially fulfilled shipments, and constantly changing costs. That's a big one. So when we have things decentralized, we're seeing no live inventory updates, just communications between teams. It can be really hard to keep on top of everything, and organization becomes a big problem. Lastly, that becomes inefficient and time-consuming. So these complex processes and the lack of integrated systems require constant effort to monitor and manage efficiently. I have lost count of the amount of AP teams, the amount of procurement teams who are tearing their hair out, just trying to keep on top of everything, especially in our changing macroeconomic climate. This is something we're seeing more and more, unfortunately. So we have our main three issues. But what happens from that? What's the concrete effect there? Inflated costs. Again, broken this down into three main areas we see these inflated costs come from. Firstly, from production losses. So when we aren't able to keep on top of our procurement, it really impacts the parts that we have in stock. We may be missing parts. We may be having to put work orders on hold for longer than necessary to get things fixed. That results in extended downtimes, resulting in that implied cost from our production losses. Second cost would be over ordering. So we're worried. We don't want to be out of stock of anything. We've been waiting 8 months for one part to come through. We need to order something else. With a poorly managed procurement flows, I do see a lot of the time people over order on parts and then we're just overspending. Last thing would be inflated labor costs. We chatted a little bit on that last slide about the additional time that's required to manage really complex and decentralized processes. As a result, of course, that's increasing our labor costs. So three main results, and we do not like inflated costs. I don't like them, you don't like them, no one likes them. But I didn't come here just to spread doom and gloom. Don't like that at all. Would rather be your ray of sunshine today. So I've decided on a few solutions right here. Firstly, centralized procurement. We want to enhance accountability and transparency. That's going to help us stay more centralized, stay more organized. We want to increase our visibility, right? So what we're going to do, real-time tracking. We want to monitor orders from when they are initially requested right on through to delivery with every step in between. And how do we make it more efficient, less time-consuming? Well, we want to streamline our workflows. So we want to integrate purchasing within maintenance tasks. The life cycle of our part, which we're going to talk about in this demo, we want every department to be able to communicate directly. We want as much to be automated as possible, really make things streamlined. Told you I'd come with some solutions. So what are we looking at here? Great question. Glad you asked. I'm going to hop into the system and I'm going to show you guys around. So there's a lot to show here. It's going to be a bit of a longer demo than normal, so I've broken it up into a few segments. And as I mentioned at the beginning, if you have questions at any point throughout this, feel free to drop them in the chat and our team is on hand to help out. So let's start with the setup. And hop back to a very familiar screen here. I would recommend setting up two things before we get started with our purchase order module. First one is going to be your vendors, and the second one is your parts inventory. Now, for those interested in diving deeper into parts inventory, remember we did a webinar on that a couple of months ago. I'll show you in a second how you can access that if you ever want to watch the recording. Let's start with our vendors. So within here, you can see I've already listed a few vendors. You can add your vendors in one by going to new vendor up here in the top right-hand corner, or as usual, you can create a spreadsheet, send it on over to our support team or myself and my team or your account manager, and we can import them for you in bulk. Things I would recommend having in here would of course be the name and a contact list as well, including the email of the person responsible who you may be in contact with at your different vendors. So first step, let's get set up with our vendors. Second step, parts inventory. If we're going to be doing some purchasing, we're going to need some parts. So firstly, I would recommend popping in your critical parts into here. Now, there are a few things I would highlight as being important within the parts inventory module. And again, you can feel free to refresh back at any time to our parts inventory webinar that we did on this. We'll dive into a lot more depth. But just to summarize, of course, we're going to need a clear name. People can reference it on a work order. We're going to want to put in the cost here as well, so we have an idea of costs. And I would recommend strongly using the minimum in stock feature right here. With that, it's going to really help simplify our purchasing when something's been used in a work order. But more on that to come. So that's it. Set up behind the scenes, vendors and parts inventory. We're all good to go there. What's the next step? Well, we're going to use some parts. We want to remove parts from inventory. There's two ways that we can do this. Firstly, we could go and restock right here, and we could leave a negative amount. So I'm going to say I used 5. I'm not feeling that greedy. We used 2 in XYZ. There we go. Confirm restock and 2 removed. Second way that we can do it, and the way I would recommend, would be within work orders here. So again, should be a very familiar screen, but if you are new to MaintainX, this is where you spend the bulk of your time. These are your tasks. These are the jobs we're doing day by day. So if we can see right now, I'm actually in my monthly compressor inspection work order. So I'm going to hop in here and I'm going to put that in progress. Now, I know within here, I have several steps I need to follow, and I happen to know that I'm going to need a part in this. I'm looking at it right now, and I know I need something for my repair. So I'm going to click into parts. I'm going to add additional part right here. I'm going to need the compressor belt for this work order. I'm actually going to need 2 of them. Not 23, 2. So you can put in the quantity right here. And we're going to update this on the work order. There we go. As soon as I've added this to the work order, if I hop back into my part here, you can see I have 2 units assigned to an active work order. So it's already been reserved within our quantity there. To remove them fully from inventory, we are going to go through here. I'm going to mark this as done. And there we go. Removed from our inventory. If we hop back to our part over here, this compressor belt, you can see 4 units available right now. So we've used our part. We've removed it from inventory. Our maintenance team is now connected to our purchasing team, our procurement team. Everyone has streamlined communication. We didn't even need to send a message. Didn't need to let anyone know, hey, I used this, it's gone below a threshold, or hey, I've done this, it's gone below this. Didn't need that at all. All we needed to do was go through our work order as usual, and it was removed. Next point, creating a purchase order. Again, just to give you variety, we've got 2 ways of doing this. Firstly, you're going to want to make sure that your purchase orders module is toggled on. So mine is, because I can see it up here on the left-hand side. If you're not seeing that on your system, no problem. Head down into settings and into features. We're going to look at purchase orders right here, and we just want to make sure that this is toggled on. And then it'll pop up for you right here. So to create our purchase order, 2 different methods, like I said. We can either create new purchase order up here in the top right-hand corner and start from scratch. Or alternatively, and the reason that I recommended using the minimum in stock threshold is we can go into our parts inventory and we can hit this button right here, needs restock. This is going to pull up a list of everything that is below its minimum in stock value. So everything that we need to order in. I highly recommend using this feature, especially now parts are more and more difficult to acquire, so that you can reorder when you hit your minimum stock threshold and have it back in stock by the time we hit 0. We never want to hit 0 and be out of a critical part that's going to leave us with an extended downtime. This is really going to be your safety net. So I have my list right here. That's great. I'm going to select all of these. And we see this key here. Looks like a piece of paper. Click on this, and it's going to create a purchase order with those parts we need already listed. So if you want to save yourself a step, you can go ahead and do that right there. Now I'm going to flesh out this, this purchase order. I'm going to select the vendor I'm using. In this case, it's going to be Apex Mechanics. I could put in any relevant part numbers if I need to reference them in here as well. That's no trouble. And I'm going to choose how many I like to order. So the default here is going to take you back up to your minimum threshold. But I'm going to want to order a bit more than that because I definitely don't want to be running out of parts all of the time. So I'm going to change these right here. There we go. I could add in taxes and costs if relevant as well. If you want to add those, that's where you would do that. And I could even add in items right here. If there's an additional item I want to put in, say that compressor belt I just used, I'm going to order 2 more of those there. I can pop in my shipping address and can put in my contact info as well. There we go. I can even put in a due date and add any notes or any additional detail I want to, including a file if need be. And with that, we've created our purchase order. So that's wonderful. It's here. But you may notice in our list of purchase orders that we have right here, we have several different statuses. We have a pending purchase order, a partially fulfilled purchase order, a completed purchase order, and approved purchase order. So this is what I mean when I say we're tracking everything from start to finish. This one we've just made is pending. Now, any user can create a purchase order. A full user can create a purchase order, or an admin can create a purchase order, but only an admin can approve that purchase order. So me as an admin in here, I have access to see this, just peruse, check everything's looking okay. It is. So I'm going to go ahead and approve this. As soon as I hit approve, this pop-up will happen. Now, I have 2 options here. I could either send it to the vendor, and you'll see if you have the email address listed, this button will appear blue. You can just click on it and it will send it directly to the email address that is listed under the contact in the vendor page. Alternatively, if I don't want to do that, I can export this to a PDF. I can choose which information I would like to be included, so you have some discretion there, and I can export it. As soon as I have exported, I see my pop-up right here. If I go on open, that's going to pull up my purchase order right here, and we can see all the information that we had entered on the original page. Now, a commonly asked question I receive is, do I have to fill in all that information when creating a purchase order? The answer is no. There's nothing that's going to stop you when you put it in. But if you want that information to appear on the purchase order itself, you're going to want to include it at that stage. So that's all well and good. We have made our purchase order right there. What's our next step? Restocking. Now, as and when these parts decide to find their way into our possession, we can review this purchase order, pull it on up. You can even search it up top here. And I'm going to go on fulfill. Now, if you have a lot of purchase orders, it may be difficult to find the right one. You could always filter in here by status. So I might just want to see everything that's been approved and not yet received. And that will give me a list of everything right here. Play that for now. So in our purchase order, number 5 here, clearly I've been doing a lot of purchasing. We are going to head to fulfill and click fulfill. This will open a pop-up for ourselves right here. Now you can see we have our basic information on here. We have the name, the units ordered, units received, units cost, and price. If you require an additional field on here to add to this table, let us know. That's something that we can do on the back end of the system for you. But for now, this has all of the information that I'm looking for. So I'm going to put in that, yeah, I did receive 10 of these, and I got 9 of these, 5 of these, 10 here, 15 here, but I only actually got 1 of my compressor belts, and I'm waiting on another one still. I'm going to press confirm and fulfill. And there we go. Those items have now been added back into our inventory. They've been restocked. But because we did not fully fulfill this order, we're still missing 1 compressor belt. The status has changed to partially fulfilled. This is going to help you keep on top of things when they're half in, half out. You know exactly what you're waiting on, and you can see all the orders. Again, if we go into status, we can filter here and see everything that is partially fulfilled. When I receive that in, I would simply head back to fulfill. I'm going to switch this to 2 because we got both of them now. And when that's done, we click on complete. I'm going to complete this purchase order, and there we go. The job is done. So we've seen now how everything is connected, right? Our maintenance team has gone to their work order. They've used a part. It's automatically removed from our inventory. That has automatically created a list of everything we need to reorder. We've populated a purchase order. We've kept it up to date. And now it's back in stock, ready for that cycle to begin all over again, forever. So we know how to restock. Now, I know that a lot of you may have some kind of more in-depth workflows that you may need. That's something my team works with people a lot on. So you may have specific information that you need to capture that isn't there in the basic information on that purchase order. Well, let's head to our settings and see what we can do here. We're going to go down into settings. We are going to go to features, and we'll head into purchase orders and set preferences here. And you'll see there's a fair few things that we can change. So you could have a custom title. You could have a prefix on your purchase order. You could have a CC email address. If you need someone in your organization to be CC'd when we're sending out purchase orders, you can do that as well. But the most important things I would say I change things for would be customize fields, approval rules, and the purchase order ID. So if you're switching to a system like MaintainX, but you already have 12,435 purchase orders in place, no problem. We can head in here and make sure you start at 12,436. You do not need to start afresh with your purchase order IDs. So from a tracking perspective, that should help you out to begin with. Second point, customizing fields. Now, you know we love a custom field. You can do it on pretty much every single module within MaintainX. So to do that, we'll just go on Add Custom Field. And I would say probably the most common one I would see in here would be teams responsible. So I'm just going to create that. And I've chosen a single select, so I have a drop down because I want people to be able to pick very specific responses. So I'm having my AP team, I'm going to say procurement. This is where you see how challenged I am with spelling. And you know what, for argument's sake, let's say we have our facilities team here. I'm going to create that field. And there we go, we have our custom field. Now, when I'm creating a purchase order, we are down to the bottom, we have our custom field right here, and I can select the responsible team. So use your imagination for this one. If there's specific information you want to capture, you will be able to create a custom field for that. Now, I know this is all great, but don't worry, I've saved my favorite feature for last, which is approval rules. This is a newer feature on MaintainX, so it may be something that you're not aware of, even if you are already using our purchase order module. Let's take a look at this. The idea here is that we're looking at different triggers within our purchase orders. So we want an if condition, then something else will happen. For example, if, let's use that field we just made, the team responsible is the AP team, then I want to assign and notify, and I could pick the relevant team from within here. We're just going to pretend that that's the right one. I'm going to save this rule, and now that will apply for all future purchase orders. Another common one I would see would be if the total cost is higher than a certain amount. So if we're looking at more than $1,000 here, then I want to assign and notify myself, actually. I've decided I'm the big boss. I'm the big cheese. There we go. Save rule. Perfect. Now, everyone that's going over $1,000, you want to spend that, you got to come through me first. But you may not want rules for everything. You know, you may not want to have to go and approve every single purchase order that comes through. If that's the case, I'm going to go to total cost is between, and I'm going to say if we're between $0 and $100, I don't want to spend the time going and approving that. I just want it to happen. So we can just automatically approve. That would be an option as well. This is a feature that is available to our enterprise customers. So if you're on our enterprise plan, go in here, have a play around with it. It's a really, really helpful feature. If you're not currently on our enterprise plan, which you can check by coming in here and clicking on approval rules, if you don't have access to it, it will let you know there will be a pop-up that says this is available to enterprise customers. If you see that, and this is a feature that you want, speak to your account manager. They will be able to walk you through it. They will be able to give you more details and identify if that's going to be a good fit for you. And they can take it from there. So there we go. Pretty comprehensive overview, I hope, of purchase orders. We talked about a few things within that demo. And I wanted to refresh us back to those 3 pains and 3 solutions that we spoke about before I started sharing my screen. So the first thing, we were decentralized and we were disorganized. So we wanted to centralize procurement with enhanced accountability and transparency. How have we done that? Well, within our purchase orders right here now, everything is set. Everything is recorded. We have it here. I can see when this purchase order was created, when it was approved, when it was fulfilled, when it was completed. I have all this information at my fingertips. If you're more an Excel kind of person like I am, you can also take a look at this through the list view if you want to see, when was something created, who by, what status was it at, you can do it right there. Second point we looked at was real-time tracking. We wanted to monitor orders from request to delivery. Well, that would be our status right here. I know exactly where everything's up to at any given time. We can keep on top of things much more easily now. Third point, it was inefficient and time consuming. So we wanted to streamline and integrate purchasing with our maintenance tasks. Well, we did that by creating our work order, removing that from inventory, by creating that purchase order and re-putting it into the inventory. You're able to see where everything's up to at any given time. And one last thing that I would like to show you on that point. When we're making a work order, when we're in our parts here, in fact, that one's done, so we're going to head to a different one. There we go. When I'm adding a part, your team's able to see right here where something's up to. So if I'm a maintenance technician and I'm then trying to do my job, I'm trying to add things to my work order, great, I can see how many are ordered, how many are available. If we're out of stock as well, they have visibility on that right there. So we've really streamlined all of our communication. We should be seeing a lot less messages coming through from both sides asking where things are up to, if we have them, if we're ordering them, what's going on. Everyone has access to this information. Phew, a lot of info. So that's all well and good, Mary. I can hear you saying it. That's wonderful. I want to do it. But how? How do we get started? Well, first things first, as we mentioned, add your parts inventory and vendors. Head into your settings, head to features, toggle those modules on. You have a few options of how you do that. You could add vendors and parts in one by one in the system, as I showed you how to, or you could import them in bulk. Message our support team, ask them for our import workbook. They will send it to you and you can fill that sheet with all of the information you would like to import and they will pull it in for you in one go. And you have two kind of different strategies here. You could start small and start with just your critical parts and your most important vendors, or go all in, get them all in one go. That choice is entirely yours and I'll leave that up to you. Whichever you do, utilize your MaintainX support system. We're here to help you get that information in and help you get started with it. If you already have that in, you're a step ahead. Good on you. If you need a little bit more help, as I mentioned with this, head on over to YouTube, head to MaintainX. That's our page there, and you'll see all of the webinars that Nick and I have given are right there. So if you want to look into parts inventory and how to get started on that, head on over and watch that. It'll be the best 30 minutes of your life. Maybe. Step 2, we've got everything in. We're set up. Now we want to review with your account manager. Ensure those responsible for procurement and purchasing have access to MaintainX. Make sure you know how many licenses you have, how many you may need. Make sure that they have one and they are able to view what they need to. Secondly, ensure that your current plan has access to the required features. Now, POs are a premium feature, so if you're essential, we may need to be on premium. And if you need those PO approval rules, more complex flows, you may need enterprise. So chat with us, make sure you know which plan you're on and which plan you would need. Hopefully it's already available to you, but if we need to make any changes, we're here to help with that as well. Last thing, just toggle on that module and off you go. And that just about rounds us up for POs from now. But as always, we do have more forums for you to ask questions. I mean, we do have our live Q&A in a couple of minutes here, but before we get to that, we do have our office hours. That's going to be Thursday, September the 28th at 1 p.m. Eastern, 10 a.m. Pacific, 12 Central, 11 Mountain, if that's your time zone. So Nick and I will be here along with our keyboard warriors again, and we will be ready to answer your questions on all of these topics. But a note to have, we will be prioritizing questions that are relating to purchase orders from today. So we're going to start out with purchase orders questions, and then we'll go through the rest of the topics. So definitely submit your questions or come prepared and ready to ask them live to us then. Speaking of questions, Nick, are you ready to test me? Have we had some good things come through?
Absolutely. We got a variance of questions in the chat, and we have some absolutely fantastic questions. I wanted to start with, so if we have parts inventory at a specific price and we receive more inventory at a new price, what is the price reflected in MaintainX?
Okay, good question. So the default setting within MaintainX, let's head back over here, parts inventory, here we go. The default setting is that it would stay like that. However, if you would like your parts to follow a moving average, so when we receive something in a purchase order at a different cost, and you would like that to update, let us know. We can toggle that feature on for you, and then this will follow that moving average. It's taking the cost from the purchase orders to create that. So when we make, let's say we make a new purchase order, actually, let's call this one partially fulfilled. When we're in here and we're fulfilling, we can change this unit cost right here. So say this is 74.45 right now, but actually I've just received some in at 78. I'm going to put the rest of those. There we go. It will now calculate an average based on how many we've ordered in the past at the previous price and how many we've come in now at that new price. So if you'd like them to average out, let us know, and we can toggle that feature on for you.
Perfect. Next question was asking this again, this was a brand new feature when it was introduced. So can you explain one-off parts and how can this be used?
Yeah. Okay. Good question. So something I didn't touch on necessarily within this, and I'll tell you why in a second, but is that you can have one-off parts within a purchase order. So when we're making a purchase order, we go on add item. If it's something that we don't have in inventory, say for example, I'm going to put a new part, you can create this as a one-off item. Now, when you make this in here and you receive it, it will not add to your inventory. So it's a one-off part. It exists only on this purchase order. So if you have something that you don't keep in stock and you just want it one-off, you would do it like that. However, I would exercise a lot of caution with using one-off parts because it's really helpful to have a record of that within your inventory. I would say it's much better always to make that part within your parts inventory and then order that part from the purchase order as you would with a regular part, even if it's something that you just have in once now, because you don't know, you may have that part once now and you may need it once again in 3 years' time. And then you would be able to see when you ordered it, what its cost was. You have that history there that comes with using the parts inventory module. So yes, you can make a one-off part within a purchase order, but really think about why you want that one-off part. A lot of the time, it's just better to have that in inventory and then do a regular purchase order.
Perfect. Fantastic. I couldn't have said it better myself. If I made a mistake in a purchase order created, can I edit a completed purchase order?
Very good question. So whenever any purchase order is made, you do have the ability to edit it. And you'll forgive me for switching screens here all the time, but I do think it's helpful to have a visual on this one. So you'll see here on our partially fulfilled purchase order, if we head to edit right here, I can make changes to what we created at the beginning. However, if we have a completed purchase order, that isn't available because the idea is it's already been done. So why would we go back and edit it at that point? However, if a mistake was made, we do need to make changes. One thing you can do is we'll head to these 3 dots and we're going to undo purchase order completion. That will reopen this. Now we can make the edits we want to. We can finish it up and complete it. And then you've got a little bit of a loophole with how you're able to edit a completed work order, purchase order there.
Amazing. Perfect. Next one I received, I'd like to reference a PO in a work order to my stock management team. Can this be done? And if so, how?
It can, actually. And you guys are asking very visual questions today. So off we go back to MaintainX. So there may be points where you want to reference a PO in a work order, or there also may be points where you want to reference a work order in a purchase order. That is absolutely possible to do. So let's take our purchase order right here. If I head again to these 3 dots, top right-hand corner, I can copy link. With that link copied, let's go into my work order here. And let's say this one's been put on hold because we're missing a part. I may want to communicate that. I'm going to go into the comments. I'm going to put this down and I'm going to send that. There you go. We're linked to our purchase order. And then I can say, okay, cool. Tom doesn't want me to link him. Well, Carmen's getting a notification. Parts ordered. There we go. So we can communicate that. Now, if anyone came in here, they would click on this and it will take them right to the relevant purchase order. And if you would like to do it the other way around, if there's a work order that you would like to reference to the purchase order, exact same process. Go to your work order right here, copy link button, we go back to our purchase order, and I'm going to pop this in the comments. There we go.
Perfect. Next question. How can I set approval to be only one person approving a PO?
Yeah, that would be with your purchase order approval flows. So again, we're going to go into settings, we're going to go into features and into purchase orders right here, set preferences. If we go on approval rules for purchase orders, you can set your condition, whatever you would like to have in here, and then we would say assign and notify, and you could pick a specific person. So I'm going to just pick myself, and I'm going to set that to be basically everything in here. There we go. Now everything has to come and notify me. So if you want it to be one person, just make sure to assign and notify a person as opposed to a whole team.
Perfect. So next, I wanted to export and print all my POs. How can I do this?
Good question. Now I'll just tell you how to do one individually. So if we go into our purchase orders tab and we want to do one, we would just go to the three dots and we can export right here. But if you want to do all of them in one go, we're going to go to settings. We're going to go to general. And here in our export data tab, remember, you can export pretty much anything that you do in MaintainX at any time. So in this case, we're going to go to purchase orders, and I can set my start date and end date based on the purchase order creation date. And I can choose all of the columns that I would like to include. So this would include any custom fields that we put in as well. If you would like to export all these, you then just click export and jobs are good.
Perfect.
Any more questions for me, Nick?
I think this was addressed earlier, but like if you want to refresh, I have custom fields that I'd like to add to my purchase order forms. How can I add?
Yeah, so there's two ways in which people like to do that. One would be a field on the form itself. So that would be, again, very simple. We're going to go into features, into purchase orders, and into custom fields right here. You can add in as many fields here as you would like. The second thing that I've seen people do a fair few times is we actually want to add an additional column in here. You know, I have my name, the units ordered, units received, unit cost, and the price, but maybe I want another field in here to capture some information that we need internally. If that is what you need, let us know. It's something we can do on the back end and put in for you there. So don't be shy to reach out to us when you need things like this. Always, I would like to refresh. If there is a workflow you have and you don't think it's quite fitting a MaintainX module, you have your support network here. Let us know and we will always work through it with you. Often we've seen it before and there's a workflow we can recommend. And if not, we're always happy to take your feature requests and see what we can add in at a future date. And on that note, I think that just about wraps us up. So from Nick and I, thank you guys so much for being here. It's been an absolute pleasure. Again, don't forget to join us for office hours. We'll be here Thursday at 1 p.m. ready to go to answer all of your questions. And if you would like a recording of this session, keep your eyes on your inbox. It's coming in on October the 4th. Perfect. Between now and the next time, we hope you guys have a great day. Hope you have a great week, great month, all of that good stuff. And happy using the module.
Thanks again so much, guys. Have a great and fantastic day.
Thanks, guys.